Hello everyone, welcome to part two of my King Arthur Q&A. I have Arthur Pendragon here with me, I have Gwyn ap Nuith here with me, and various other people from my guides and my ancestors who will all be helping to ensure we get the clearest answers for the questions that you've all asked. So the first question we have for you, Arthur, is did it matter that Excalibur, did not go into your intended water? Did it matter it went into a Scottish loch instead of the water you requested it to go into? No, but. So it didn't matter, but it created negative energy, right? And when you say negative entity, yes, is that because, and I'm getting negative entity again, did it, okay, I think I understand. I think I'm getting a picture of what happened here. Karma, yes. Did they become a shadow entity as a result? Yes. This was upon death. Yes. Was this because the level of negative karma created for them split their soul into light and dark? No. Was this because somebody cursed them for it? Yes. Right. So, from my understanding of what you're telling me, Arthur, is this on a par to what happened to Gwyn ap Nuith? Yes. And Gwion? Yes. So, they almost incurred a punishment for behavior in their lifetime, but from somebody, not from the light, from an individual that used powerful magic to do that. Yes. Did they become a dark shadow person at the lake where they threw the sword in? Yes. Have they been seen there? Yes. Did they become a dark shadow person at the lake that they should have thrown it into? Yes. He's saying a friend's negative energy. So are you saying that one of Arthur's knights cursed this person once they found out, sort of took their name in vain, but it caused a punishment? Yes. And he's saying a mythical creature. So was it one of Arthur's own guides, spirit guides, that did this? But one of the animal ones, one of the mythical ones? Was it a dragon by any? Was it a dragon? Yes. Yes, Arthur's dragon. Yes. Right. Okay. Okay. Right. Interesting. I've never heard of that before. Um, okay. So this person, is this person's other half of their soul, the non-shadow part that's cursed, has it been reincarnated? Yes. Is it here now in the physical? Yes. Hmm. Interesting. Are they reincarnated as a human? No. Interesting. Can you tell me what they've been reincarnated as? I've heard it already. They've been reincarnated as a dog. Okay, right. I think there's work to do there. Can you tell me, please, the name of the loch that Caliburn was thrown into, please, in the end? Where was it actually thrown into? L O. I can hear it already, but I'm just wanting combination. Loclocky. That's exactly what I heard. Locky. Is Locky, this is my question now, it's just piqued my interest. Is Locky named after Loki, Arthur's son? Yes. Is that why the sword went in there? Yes. It was the next best thing. Yes. Was Nimue on the boat with Morgana to Glastonbury with Arthur's body? Yes. Um, and a dragon, and the dragon, Arthur's dragon as well, they're saying. So Arthur Pendragon, Arthur Macadon, will your grave ever be found? Yes. Has your grave already been found? No. Okay. Now, is your burial a cyst burial? No. A cyst burial is where there's a stone enclosure, a stone box with the bones in. Now it's going a bit bananas now. I've said that because it is a stone-lined grave. They've showed me that before. They've told me where it is on Hamlin Knowe in Scotland, or around that area. There is a grave there already that's known about. Arthur's grave is near to there, but is not that one because I've checked that before. But he says his grave will be found, and his grave is not a cyst burial, although it is stone lined. He has been buried there, his whole body. He isn't in a stone cyst, which is the stone box with just his bones in. So, am I right in saying that your body wasn't scryated then? Yeah. So he was buried as we would imagine a traditional burial to be. He wasn't left out for his bones to be picked clean and then put in a box, as is with a cyst burial. So right. He's telling me his dragon's here. Um, oh, that's great. Okay. Has Caliban or Excalibur already been found? Yes. Has it been found by humans? No. Who has it been found by? A negative entity. Yes. So are you just saying that its location has been identified? Yes. Has it actually been retrieved from that location? No. So you're saying that a dark entity knows where Caliburn is? Yes. But it hasn't actually got possession of it? No. So this is why it's so important to ask very specific questions, because I say, has Excalibur been found? Yes, you would assume then that it's in a museum somewhere and they don't realize what it is, but no, its location has been identified by someone, something, but it hasn't actually been retrieved, and that thing that has found it is not human. Let's ask some questions about that. Is the negative entity that found Caliburn water dwelling? Yes, this is what I suspected. A mythical creature, he's saying. Okay. Is, okay, we're going to run through some mythical creatures now of Scottish locks. Has Caliburn been found by a Kelpie? No. Has Caliburn been found by a Merrow? What we would call a Merrow? Yes, because remember, many Scottish lochs are very deep and tidal, and some of them have underground connections to the sea. Has this creature come from the sea? No. So she's living, I say she, I feel the she. Is is this Merrow that is living in the loch? So she's not a sea creature. Is she what we would refer to as a Jenny Greenteeth? Yes. And she's found Caliburn, but she's not moved it. She's left it in place. She's not moved it. No. Has she left it in place? Yes. Does she realize what it is? No. Okay, that's important. Okay, so it has been found by a negative creature, a Jenny Greenteeth and Merrow, who obviously lives in Loch Lochy, but um, she's not moved it. She doesn't realize what it is. Okay, so will Excalibur, Caliburn be found by humans? Yes. Will they know what it is? Yes. Will they be good humans? Will they be of the light? Oh, but it's not answering. It's saying it's going to be found by ancestors. Is it going to be found by descendants of the Dalritans? Yes, big yes. Yeah, it's going to be found by locals who are descended from Arthur and his family. Wonderful. And will they know what it is? Yes, they will. Wonderful. Will it get a second life? Yes. Lovely. Oh, I'm going to ask a question here because of what's coming through to me. Has Caliburn, Excalibur, the sword we know as Excalibur, has it got a soul? Yes. This is what was coming through, that it had a spirit, that it was alive in some way. And they're saying an ancestor spirit. I want, okay, we're going off piste again here. Um, has it got a spirit bound to it, just like Gwyn ap Nuith said the standing stones have protector spirits bound to it? Yes. So has it had the soul of an ancestor of Arthur bound to it as a sort of to constitute it? And they're saying yes, 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 yes. And to fortify it and to protect it. Yes, I can feel the energy surging through my hand when I ask those questions. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Wow. Huge emotion coming through. I don't think anyone's realized that. They're really relieved that we've got to that conclusion. So when the sword is finally found, does this spirit need to be released from it? Is that what you meant by it will have a second life? Yes. Will this be soon? Will it be found soon? No. Will it be found in the next 10 years? No. Will it be found in the next 20 years? No. Will it be found in the next 50 years? Yes. Okay. In 50 years. Less than 50 years? Yes. Between 40 and 50 years' time, Excalibur will be found. Yes. Is this because the locks will become dry? Yes. Okay. And will people then know to free the spirit from it? Yes. If the white spring was used for funerary rites, yes. Um, was the red spring used for birth rites? Yes. Or conception? No. Or the mourning of children? No. So was the Red Spring used for what we would now call something like a christening, but a pagan version? Yes. I'm hearing the word baptism. Yes. Okay, so we might be getting muddled here with perhaps early Christian practices. Um, okay, no, they're saying the family bound the child to its mythical creature there. I love the way they use the word mythical creature. That's very funny. Do they mean the dragons? So, right. So we're talking about in Arthur and Morgana's time. I'm specifically talking about Arthur MacAiden's time. Was the Red Spring in Glastonbury used during Arthur's time in birthrights? Yes. Was the Red Spring in Glastonbury in Arthur's time used to call in dragons, etc., for that child through the waters of the Red Spring? Massive yes. I'm getting all sorts of visions. Not full submersion, but kind of holding them with their face out, but otherwise completely under. Lots of dragon energy. Pendulum's going bananas. Yes, 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 yes. Um, so did I'm going to ask her a question because it's sort of niggling at me. Did they believe in Arthur's time with regards to the Red Spring that the waters of the Red Spring brought the soul into the child? Yes. And the White Spring took the soul out of the person? Yes. Right. Okay. So it's to do with believing that, reset please. It's to do with believing that the water carried the soul. No, the water, they're saying soul path. It, are you saying that they believed that the water imbued one's dharma, for want of a better word, one's soul path? I'm seeing a white stag. That's a sacred quest. Yes. So there was some sort of ceremony, was there? Yes. Because they thought that the water of the Red Spring brought one's true purpose into the soul, and the guides and guardians needed to achieve that, is what they're saying. Yes. And the White Spring washed that away again. Yes. A quick add-on to that, was Arthur taken to the Red Spring in Glastonbury to be immersed when he was born? Yes. Interesting. With his dragon. Yeah, with his dragon. More than just his dragon? Yes, all his guides and ancestor spirits and animal guides. Yeah, they call him in there. Yeah. Wow. Wow. I'm not going to look at these places the same now. How powerful. No wonder they feel so powerful. They're almost like conduit places for destiny to the pre-Christian They're saying yes. Pre-Christian and early Christian? No. So pre-Christian peoples right up to the time of when people started converting to Christianity. And was there a bit of overlap? Yeah, but not in the Christians. No. So, right, okay. So they were using the red and the white spring in that way, according to Arthur. Those who hadn't converted were still using it in that way. Did your sister Morgana, did she have any children? Did she have any children? He's saying, yes, she's your friend. I know she's my friend. Um, uh, did she have any children? Yes. Did she have any surviving children? Yes. I'm hearing two boys and a girl. Was it two boys and a girl that survived to adulthood? No. That's probably the wrong question, isn't it? Because was one of them called Mordred? No. Oh, was one of them called Gwyn? Yes, I thought so. So it's the wrong question to say they survived to adulthood because we know their stories. So the person we know is Mordred, but he wasn't called Mordred. Was he a real person? Yes. Was he Lot of Lothian's son? Yes. Was Gawain Lot of Lothian's son? No. Right, okay, so let me ask that question about Morgana's surviving children in a different way. Did any of Morgana's children outlive her? Yes. Did any of the boys outlive her? No. Oh, did any of the boys outlive her? Did any of Morgana's sons outlive her? No. Right. They were a bit umming and ahhing then. Did her daughter outlive her? Yes. Okay. Did any of Morgana's sons have children? Yes. Did any of Morgana's daughters have children? Yes. Okay. Did both Morgana's sons have children? Yes. Do either of Morgana's sons have living descendants now? No. Is this because of what happened to the Godolphin? They were all killed. The whole clan, effectively, of the male lines. Yes. Right. Okay. Does Morgana's daughter have living descendants? Yes. They're saying something else. They're saying that it is some people's path to understand that they're descended from Anna, Morgana, and they're saying to understand her true nature. She's been demonized. And actually, she had very good reason. The pendulum's just going, yes, yes, yes. She had very good reason to have the resentment that she did. But she's dealt with it now. But she dealt with it then by honoring Arthur in the way that she did. It kind of neutralized the relationship. But there's something else with the female descendants. I'm going to go back to this piece of paper. There's something with the female descendants, isn't there, that you're trying to communicate? There's a power within them. They've inherited something. Is it their souls? See, this they're taking me back again to what happened in the Banshee video we did, where I was talking about how they were ancestral protectors for a bloodline because this hybrid bloodline was the only vessels that certain souls could, I'm trying to pick up what they're saying, certain souls could incarnate into non-human souls that needed to be here now. They're saying yes. But what I'm picking up is, are you trying to tell me that Morgana's soul was not a human soul already because of this bloodline? Yes, big yes. Now, it's what we understand to be she blood, a hybridization between humans and she. But this is a can of worms because what we understand she to be is not what they are. And I've had this come through time and time again in the last couple of weeks. I need to do a different video on it. But essentially, what the she have told me is that they required this hybrid bloodline to be in place in order to incarnate at this time to help. This is where what we've been told is a complete reversal of what's true. What I didn't understand at the time was that the she and banshees and gorgons are linked. So what they're saying to me, they're saying to me now, is that the she were a last of a dying breed. The she in Ireland were the last of a dying breed. We've been told that they're scary, that they're something to be afraid of, that they're not God's creatures, all this sort of thing. And the reason that we've been told that is as a deflection. I'm just going to check with the pendulum actually. Is the reason we've been told the Fae and the Gorgons and all this sort of thing are bad a deliberate deflection from the truth? Big yes. They're light beings. They're high frequency beings that were incarnated here in bodies. You can see it getting really big. And the reason that there's these hybrid bloodlines is so that their souls could be reincarnated at this time to try and raise the frequency, to try and save the earth, try and save everything. Huge yeses. So this feeds into Morgana's children question because those who are descended from the Dalritans, that are descended from the she, you possess the DNA necessary for Titan souls to come in. But people who are descended from the she need to understand that their soul is very likely Titan because they're still saying yes. Because the whole reason that you're here this lifetime is to make, if I'm hearing them say, to affect the changes to enable the whole planet to raise its frequency back to the level it was at before the fall, they're saying. Wow. Okay, back to the Arthur questions. Oh, can of worms. You spend most of your time in what is now modern day Scotland. Mm, He's saying no. He's saying sort of half and half. Was your time spent fairly equally traveling between all these places? Yeah. I think that we forget, we really underestimate, when we say the Dark Ages, um, after the Romans, people were still trying to reuse Roman buildings and continue to live in that what we would call a more civilized way. Those trade routes that had been established since the Bronze Age were still there. And so Arthur wouldn't have spent most of his time in one place. He would have had a place that was his kingdom, but he would have been fighting battles other places. We know he fought battles in Wales, spent a lot of time there. We know that he was down in Cornwall, all places that are fairly accessible by sea, right? So the West Coast. We know that he was descended from, or they claim descent from Irish stock, and certainly the tradition in the Irish kings, from right up from the Bronze Age, right, or Iron Age, right up to Elizabethan times, it was still the custom for Irish kings and queens, don't forget Granuaile, to travel their lands. Much like the Anglo-Saxons had, they had these demountable courts, right? So the Irish particularly had these defensive, and some in you see them in Scotland as well on the West Coast, these defensive towers that they lived in, and ancient things. They had these wooden and material tents, and they would travel around, and there'd be this huge train retinue, and they would arrive a couple of days before, put all the stuff up so it was ready for the king when he arrived, and then pack it all down and move on somewhere else. It began with B, I can't remember what it is, this kind of culture. And actually, whilst Granwheeler didn't do it, she used these stone buildings. Her father, um, he still did that, and that's in Tudor times. So I mean, you're talking about a well-established culture of traveling around your lands or your family's lands, with a portable court, basically. So it's not a huge stretch of the imagination from what we know from an archaeological and cultural reference point of view, that Arthur would have, despite having his court in what we now know to be southwest Scotland, to have been moving around. For political reasons, diplomatic reasons, for defensive reasons. We know that Morgana's clan, the Godolphin, a few hundred years after she lived, travelled all the way down from what is now modern day Lothian, Edinburgh, where Lot ruled, where the fort of Looe was, right the way down into Yorkshire to fight a battle, which is a long way, you know, especially if you're on horseback, which I think they rode it by all accounts. So it wasn't uncommon at all. And when you consider that certainly the Dalrytans, Arthur, were a seafaring. I mean, Morgana means seaborn, right? Anna born at sea. When you consider that they were a seafaring culture, it's fairly easy to extrapolate out that they would have been all over the place. And so it's understandable that he's answered, actually, no, I didn't spend most of my time in one place. I was all over the place. And there's lots of archaeological evidence, whilst not for him, for that being true, of uh, those cultures of the Old North. Um, so let's see if we can find out where Arthur's knights visited him. So can you tell me the names of some places, the modern day names for them, where Arthur's knights were convened to meet him? C I R E N C E. Yeah, that's what I heard in my head as well. Cirencester. They have a big amphitheatre that had a fort built on top. Anywhere else? I can already hear where they're saying. Salisbury. Okay, so Cirencester, Salisbury. Anywhere else you want to tell? Because the thing is, they don't always want to tell you. Uh, Anywhere else you want to tell us? Okay, where? Mafonwy, Mafonwy, Mafonwy. That sounds very Welsh, doesn't it? I don't know. Hello, it's now a few hours later, and I've done a bit of digging, and I've discovered that Myfonwy, not to be confused with the Welsh name Myfanwy, or to be confused with Mythonwy, which is from the Mabinogion, a male character. So we're specifically talking about the name of a place that Arthur spelled out as to where they congregated, and he said Mafonwy, Mafonwy. Now, that's not the name of a place that we know of. So I looked up what Mafonwy means, and Mafonwy in Welsh is a mix of two words. Maffon, meaning raspberry, the colour of raspberries or raspberries, and we meaning water. So Arthur was saying he used to congregate somewhere that he referred to as having pink or red water. Okay, so far, so weird. Anyway, what after a bit more digging, I have discovered very interestingly that the lake in Wales that is said to be associated with the Lady of the Lake, Llyn is means the red lake or the pink lake. Okay. It's located in southwest Wales, and it is famous for the legend of the fairy bride and the physicians of Mythfae, and in some ancient variants, I'm reading directly now, in some ancient variants of the folklore, it is referred to or linked to nearby pools known as the Bride from the Red Lake. And under specific summer-like conditions and weather conditions, the sediment and the mountain runoff turn these upland glacial pools an eerie rust pink, fueling centuries of supernatural tales. Now, what is interesting is that Southwest Wales is also where the Preseli Hills are, and that is where Arthur is said to have taken the bluestones from. Sorry, I've got dogs here, but in the way, the bluestones from that were then placed at Stonehenge. So there you go. I'm just having a look on my phone. So I think that Arthur, when he said Mafonwy, the raspberry water, was referring to the glacial pools that are known now as the Red Lake in southwest Wales? Yeah. Can you tell me anywhere in Scotland? No, I knew they wouldn't tell me anywhere in Scotland. They really, they were not happy to. I don't know why it is. I think, well, I do know why it is because they don't want people going there. They don't want people trampling it all. Weird. Right. Let's ask another question. Was there really a round table? Was there really a round table? Where was it situated? Siren Sister. Yeah, they're saying Siren Sister. And I've got a bit of a question because they found out that the round table in Winchester, that was said to have been mocked up by Edward III, I think it was, because he was a bit obsessed with King Arthur. Actually, they think that the wood on that round table is much older and he just repainted it. So I've got an interesting question. Is the round table in Winchester on display? Is that the real round table of King Arthur? Saying yes. And it was just repainted. Yes, by Edward, whoever it was, Edward I, Edward III. Massive yes. There you go. Maybe one day they'll let them carbon date it. But Arthur's saying that's his real round table. It took the scientists by surprise that were doing initial investigations. So if they ever let them take a proper dendrochronology test out of it, that would be fascinating to find out if what we're being told is correct. But Arthur is saying that's his real round table. Right, so it was in Cirencester. Did it move around with you, Arthur? Did it move around with you? Yes, but it ended up in left in Cirencester. Was it mainly based in Cirencester? Did it require an amphitheatre to be housed in? No, no. Were amphitheatres used by you, Arthur, as courts? Yes. Okay, that's what we suspected. Right, next question. What was the significance of the sword being placed in the water? Saying it, saying it's to show respect to the spirit in the sword. Oh my God. Okay, right. This is where we come back to the springs, right? Because it's the water. So, okay. So what they're showing me is that this, not the soul, but the soul path, the Dharma and the guides is imbued through water, red spring. It's taken out again, back to the water, to the void with the white spring. Yes. The sword is imbued with a protector, ancestral protector spirit, like a legendary, victorious one, like the energy of it. And it's put back into the water so that ancestor, that soul, that and the mission of that soul to help that sword be victorious for that person is washed away again. Right, okay, so can we they're saying yes. Oh, can we extrapolate that out then to to the wider practice of, from what we understand, the kind of Bronze Age practice of breaking and submitting swords to the water? They're saying yes. So we've always understood that archaeologically to be because the person's belongings had served their purpose and could not be used by anybody else. So they're saying yes, that's correct. But were the swords also broken so the spirit imbued in them could be released back into the water, back into the ether, the void? Yes, they're saying. Right. So was there a practice of, so have we misunderstood then that culture? Yes, they're saying. So we understand it to be a practice of honoring a water god, of giving the artifacts as offerings to a water god. Is that what they were doing? No. Is it a better understanding of it to say that they were breaking artifacts and submitting them to the water in order for the water to carry the spirit or the soul of that artifact back to source? Yes. So the water is a conduit for source, yes, not a god in its own right. Yes. Wow, that really opens up lots of potential for what we understand to be water deities, what we understand to be well maidens as well. So can I ask you a quick question about what we understand to be the ladies of the lake then, who were making these offerings? Because I certainly have a past life doing that. Were we, rather than making offerings to a water god or goddess, were we psychopomps for those spirits in the artifacts? Yes. Wow. Question answered. I love these Q&As. They go on forever. I'm going to have to make this like part 2 and 3, split it up or something. Okay. I don't want to leave that with this. That's opened up an absolute can of worms again. Okay. I will go on to the next question, drag myself away from that. Was Lancelot a real person? No. And the Lancelot in the modern day Arthurian stories, was he a real individual? No. This is what I've been told before. Was he, in fact, several people's stories that had been imbued into one? Yes. And that's what I've always been told by Morgana, by Gwyn, that Lancelot was actually an amalgamation of the stories of several people. Right, okay. Were the people that he was, were the people whose stories made up the modern day figure of Lancelot, were they all real? Yes. Were all the parts of the story that we understand to be Lancelot's real occurrences for the people that were based on him? Yes. Okay. So he was more than one person. Why didn't he marry Guinevere? They're saying to me he did. And that that fits with what I've been told as well, that Lancelot's story is an amalgamation of Gwyn's stories, Morgana's son Gwyn, that she sent to Arthur's court to be trained by him to serve with him before they had a big falling out. And remember that Gwyn was not her husband's son. Actually, let me ask that. I'm not allowed to tell you who his father was, but was Gawain born before Morgana was married? Yes, that's what I've always been told as well. So Morgana had a son prior to her marriage, whether or not he was brought up, and that was Gawain. And so Lancelot's antics, if you like, a lot of them are based on Gawain's stories. To make up a more exciting narrative. But the figure of Lancelot, this being a really honourable, chivalrous, although pre-chivalry, a really honourable, nice guy. They've told you it's part of it is Gawain. I know it's not Gawain who married Guinevere. So, because we've been told this separately. So you've said Lancelot is partly made up of Gawain's stories. Yes, and Gwyn was a real person. Yes, and Gwyn was Morgana's son. Yes. Did Gawain marry Guinevere? No. Is the part of Lancelot that always loved Guinevere and then married her, is that Dormangard, Arthur's brother, cousin, Dormangard? Yes. And that's what I've always been told as well, that Lancelot is amalgamation of at least two people, the heroics of Gwyn, and Dormangard wasn't a warrior, and the story of Dormangard and Guinevere. Was Lancelot really... Was Gawain banished from the court for a dalliance with Guinevere? Was Dormangard banished from the court for a dalliance with Guinevere? Was Dormangard removed or strategically placed somewhere else by his father in order to break his obsession with Guinevere? Yes, so that's where that banishing story comes from. Was Dormangard always in love with Guinevere? Yes. Did Guinevere love Dormangard when she was married to Arthur? No. And this is what I've always been told as well, that Dormangard, who married Guinevere after Arthur was killed, was in love with Guinevere, always loved her. And that it wasn't that she didn't see him, but she saw him like a little brother, you know, because he was effectively one of the youngest of Arthur's brother, but he was a half brother, and cousin. So I think Igraine and Dormangard's mothers were sisters, I believe. Actually, I can ask, can't I? Was Igraine Arthur's mother? Yes. Were her and Dormangard's mothers sisters? Yeah. So that correlates with what I was always told. So it's kind of nice in the end, but the story of Lancelot being sort of banished from the court for a dalliance with Guinevere, that's not true at all. Guinevere never cheated on Arthur. Dormangard was so upset, was so in love with her that his father moved him. He wasn't a warrior anyway. He converted to Christianity. He was a very early convert. So he was just sent off to, you know, do scholarly pursuits to get him out of the way, basically, because, you know, it was not healthy. And that's where the story of Lancelot's banishing comes from. I believe that's certainly what I've been told by Arthur. So when you say why didn't he marry Guinevere, he did. He did. After Arthur was killed, he did. So it was a happy ending after all. And Guinevere did learn to love him because he was so nice. He was a lovely man, Arthur's told me, a really gentle, quiet man, completely the opposite of Arthur. She did end up loving him a lot. And they brought up Arthur's son and never told anybody that he was Arthur's son. Merlin. We're on to Merlin. Was Merlin a single person, an individual? Yes, I know that. Okay. Are any of the stories about him in uh, the later French stories true? Yes. Someone's asked me to say, did he heal on the other side? Yes. I don't, you didn't say specifically what, but I wouldn't remember that the medieval stories of Arthur, like Lancelot's story, are have been changed to make it more racy, more exciting. I wouldn't take all of Merlin's story sort of verbatim. There is some truth in it. I've certainly been told that he did have an obsessive love for Nimue, who they changed her name to Vivian. I'm saying yes, who he trained. But that a lot of that story is not it is has been changed. Um, okay. This is a question directly for Arthur. Are your associates from that time still working in Otherworld with you? Yes. I mean, I can certainly vouch for Gwyn and Arthur. Whilst they don't often come in together, they have done. They certainly feel very separate, though. There's no blurring, there's no fondness there. I could say Gwion, so Taliesin, Gwion and Gwyn are very close, very good friends. Still. The pendulum's going, yes. So is Arthur just a soul like any other now? Yes, but he has Dharma in this life to carry on his role. So his role in that lifetime to be symbolic of hope and of I'm hearing reciprocity of spirit. That's a strange phrase. So to give us hope and to set us on our right path, even though he's just a soul like any other, he's a soul that had to come in and fulfill that role in that lifetime and continue it in spirit so that we're here having these conversations and it's inspiring us and giving us hope and answering questions and helping us believe in magic, I'm hearing him say, and other worlds, and pendulums going bananas, and what else? Magic and other worlds and the truth of our own. Oh, okay. So to help us to restore our own folk stories, certainly the English had a lot of their oral folklore destroyed deliberately by the Normans and Scots. The Scots were the next target for that, to try and destroy all their folklore. Then the Welsh and ultimately the Irish, and right up until even present day. So the Victorians trying to eradicate the speaking of Scots Gaelic and of Welsh and of Irish Gaelic in schools. Even if it was the only language the children spoke, they weren't allowed to speak it, and they were punished for it. That was a deliberate attempt to extinguish the cultural heritage of that country. And that happened, they did it to the English first. So because they did it to the English first, we've lost most of our folklore. We've lost our language, the Cornish still have theirs to a certain degree, but our language is an amalgamation of all other languages that invaded here. There's no real Brythonic, which would have been our language, left at all. It's all Latin based. So, and Germanic from the Saxons. So, and even up until the 1980s, when they were banning maypole dancing for health and safety reasons, that was the last hammer blow to English folk tradition. And it was quite deliberate over millennia to destroy the sense of the spirit of the people. And that was much less successful in Wales and Scotland and Ireland. And whilst that destruction is much keener in the memory of those people because it was much more recent, in a way, they were more fortunate because they managed to retain some of their written law and their oral tradition, albeit with great sacrifice and difficulty. Whereas the English really, most of our cultural heritage with regards to folklore and language is gone. It's gone. And we have to glean things like Arthur's story from Welsh and Cumbrian and Scottish texts. Pendulum saying yes. Are some Arthurian figures reincarnated this lifetime? Yes. Saying family, his family. I know his father isn't because I've moved his father on recently and dealt with that. There was a lot of stuff going on with Aidan McGabran with regards to his relationship with Morgan, with Anna, that he hadn't gone. And getting over Arthur's death, I'm hearing as well. That was a huge blow. I'm not going to ask who, because souls can split as well, as we know with Gwyn ap Nuith. Part of him was working, part of him was trapped in Glastonbury Tor as the Dark Man, part of Gwyn was trapped there, and part of Gwyn was reincarnated. So, because Taliesin is here. So saying yes, Taliesin is reincarnated this lifetime, but I'm not going to go through, and Dormangart is reincarnated this lifetime. Yes, but I'm not going to go through and ask in this session. If you want to give me a list of people you want to know if they're reincarnated this lifetime and if their soul is split or not, happy to do so, but we've gone on quite a long time. So the last question I've got is, did Arthur McAden ever meet with Taliesin when he was alive? Did he meet Taliesin? No. I'm going to ask a slightly different question. Did he meet Gwyn? Yes. Is that because Gwyn was with Gwyn? Yes. So Arthur met Gwyn, as was before he became Taliesin, with Gwyn. Yes. But he never, but did Arthur meet Gwyn after he became Taliesin? No. There you go. Got to ask the right questions to get the right answers. Any other questions for them? Let me know in the comments and I'll do a part 3.